Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Mental Health Hour here on Twitch, also restreamed on YouTube, and now Spotify, Anchor, all the podcasting sites. Um, so, still growing, and that is what we like to see. Wait for everybody to start trickling in and go over what we're going to be doing tonight. In the meantime, I'll use this opportunity to go ahead and throw this up on the screen and let everybody know that Wednesday, August 31st, end of this month, so 3 weeks from now, uh, two more episodes after tonight, we're doing another live Q&A, the fourth edition. So please, as you guys have in the past, you've always submitted some great questions. Um, and we really look forward to doing these episodes. Let's keep it mental health related with the questions, and let's keep it clean and respectful. Um, when Gemma does go over the questions, she screens out anything that's inappropriate or um, not in line with our views for this show. But yes, that we'll go over this again at the end of the show. But just as everybody's starting to trickle in, I'll just have this up um, and a reminder that August 31st is the live Q&A for. Um, the past three have gone about an hour and a half, and we've had anywhere from 10 to 15 questions each time. So it's been really a lot of fun. It's one of our favorite episodes to do. And that being said, Gemma, how are you today?
I best get the explanation of the voice out of the way. I had surgery yesterday. Yesterday. Discharged this morning. And obviously, when they put you to sleep, they use a tube down your throat.
Mm-hmm.
And they've scratched the inside of my throat. So it's not actually as sore as it sounds. It is a little sore. But I've been gargling with like mouthwash that helps and stuff. So just makes me sound a bit weird. But other than that, I'm good. I'm not too bad.
You ain't eating any ice cream?
Oh yeah, I've totally milked that one.
Yes, indeed.
You
And
don't get
Gemma,
it in the hospital, but I made up for it when I come home.
and Gemma has resubscribed 7 months in a row
That's how
on
long we've been on here then, ain't
on
it?
your own show. But I hope to eventually get back to doing some more like fun streaming. But ever since uh, I'd say Casey was about 5 months pregnant or so, I cut back on all that, and I've just been doing this show strictly. Um, yes, the end goal. I know you've asked in the past. We've done some fun broadcasts together. Uh, we can definitely do that coming up in the future once Penelope ages a bit. Speaking of her, she's sitting right next to me here in her bouncer. She's asleep for now, but it's I shouldn't have to run off screen this time. Good afternoon, Espresso. Welcome on in. Good to see you, and welcome to everybody else trickling in. Let's get down to it. Tonight we are going over an episode that I did prior to Gemma even joining. It was actually the episode before Gemma uh, came on. Gemma was episode 5, and she's been on ever since. And Triggered was episode 4. Um, this was back when I was still kind of getting the feel for live stream. I've never live streamed before. Um, and so, the first couple of episodes, if you listen to them on the YouTube or the podcast, they're kind of shaky at best. But I came into it a little bit and definitely got my bearings here. I've never been afraid of talking to public. But it's a whole different ball game. I found out when I felt like I was just talking to a computer screen and nobody was there, you know.
Yeah, definitely easier when you've got somebody with you.
And hello, Hattie, Tracy, and Eric. Eric, thanks for the resub. Um, Good to see you guys. Welcome on in. Tonight, as I was just saying, we're going to revisit episode 4, um, where it was just me solo. And I went over the basics of triggers, what triggers are. Trigger has become one of those buzzwords nowadays, um, especially with the younger kids and what have you. Are they using it correctly? I'm not to say, but we can go over exactly what um, a trigger should be or is, and we can go over some personal experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Des, how are you this evening? Good to see you. So, that being said, uh, Gemma, did you want to start like we always start, or do you want me to just go into? Do you want to talk a little less tonight, or what do you want to do?
I'll let you talk while you're able to, and then I'll step in as and when. But yeah, however you want to do it.
If you
It's not
just
as sore as it sounds.
if you guys are just joining us, Gemma already explained, but she had surgery yesterday, so she's a little hoarse from the tube, but powering through as she does,
Yeah.
um, and eating plenty of ice cream, um, which is good. So to start this out, I'll take the helm for the first couple slides here. Um, let's just start with a basic definition. This was one of the best ones I could find. What is a trigger? Trigger is a trauma reminder. It can be a feeling, smell, place, topic, or anything that engages our nervous system and causes a survival response. It is a surprise emotion, a memory that our body holds, one that may feel like it comes out of nowhere. So, what does that mean? That is the best definition that I could find um,
I
in
agree.
line with what we're going to be talking about tonight, as far as what is an emotional trigger, what is a trauma trigger. Um, Trigger is something that elicits a fight or flight kind of instinct in you. It reminds you of a traumatic experience in your life, something that has stuck with you. And if you remember, we went over, God, what episode? I think it was episode 35 or something like that. We went over the traumatic brain and how traumas stay in the now. So they're always, that's why it feels like it was just yesterday. Whenever you think of this traumatic experience, it's almost as if you could still smell or hear or see exactly what was going on in your mind's eye. Um, and that's what this is saying here. It's definitely a very sensual thing. The five senses are brought into play. Michael Joseph Murray, how are you? Thank you for the bits. Good to see you. Um, so yes, that is the basic definition there, and that's from Andrea Glick. Um, Gemma, anything to add on to that you would like to chip
Uh,
in? Or
no, I think that's a really good way of explaining it. And when I said that something's triggered me, that's what it's meant to me. Especially when I speak about the rape. There was one depicted on a program I was watching quite a while back, and because of the similarities, it caused me to be triggered, and it was actually really difficult at the time. We're talking a while ago now,
certainly,
and that was enough to just set me over and start reminding me of what happened to me, caused me to have nightmares and things. Took me quite a while to deal with it because it was having to reprocess the whole emotion again.
exactly. And
But
that you'll see that with triggers, and why they are triggers. Um, they essentially, exactly what the word is. They trigger that fight or flight instinct. Fight, flight, or freeze now. Um,
Yeah. And the emotions that you feel when you're triggered can be the same, if not sometimes worse, than when it actually happened. It doesn't have to be any less. It can actually be even more so than when it actually happened. Because I remember when it happened to me, the initial response for me was to completely freeze. It was as though my body acted dead, and I just laid there. I couldn't speak, I couldn't move, I was limp. Yet,
right.
when I was triggered by this, I seemed to react a lot more than what I did at the time. Because I knew that I wasn't being raped at the time, but it did remind me of it.
Sure.
And my body kind of wanted to react maybe in a way that it should have done at the time. So it was difficult to process because then I was going through the whole I should have done this, I should have said that, I shouldn't have done this, trying to relive it, but correct any mistakes that I felt I made at the time of the incident,
Yeah.
which made it even worse because I'm literally pulling apart the way that my body reacted, which I couldn't control.
Second guessing and all of that.
Yeah.
Monday morning quarterbacking. Um, reliving the experience and um, in a way where what could have been done different, what could have been done the same. Everything goes through your head. And the reason, um, why these traumatic experiences stick with us is because, as you were touching on there, Gemma, we haven't processed them appropriately. We haven't processed these memories as if they were a good memory. As we recall from our episode on the traumatic brain, a good memory, the brain is able to communicate with both right and left side and file that away, timestamp it, and file it away in the vast file cabinet of your brain, able to be pulled out in conversation or a fond look back, but you don't really remember the details as vividly when it's filed away. Now, with the traumatic brain in uh, a traumatic experience, um, you have not processed that event in a way where your right and left side of your brain are communicating with each other happily. Um, everything's askew, and it's all staying right there in the now. It's unable to be filed away. So it just stays in the now, which is why it feels like it was just yesterday, even though it was 12 years ago. Um, so this was something, this whole topic of the traumatic brain and trauma processing was one of my favorite parts of my stay at rehab. Um, it really broke down what was going on inside my head. Um, more than just, of course, there's the hereditary and genetic substance abuse in my family um, with alcoholism from both sides, mom and dad's side. But there's more than just the alcoholic bug, if you will. There was a lot going on between personal life, um, my divorce from my first marriage, and then some of the stuff we see on calls, obviously, in the fire department. Um, most most any firefighter will tell you, "Oh, it doesn't bother us. It doesn't bother us," and they're lying, 100% lying. We're trained to check our feelings at the door, leave that behind. But that was the very old school method. Um, More often than not, now we're seeing more people processing these emotions and talking either with their shift or with a counselor, group therapy. It is coming quite a long way in the fire service. Peer support teams are. more active in departments, and it's good to see. It's definitely good to see. Um, so that being said, that was just a little synopsis on the traumatic brain, a reminder. Let's take a look at what triggers. We have two types. We have internal triggers and we have external triggers. Internal triggers obviously happen within or inside the body. Memories, feelings, shortness of breath, racing heart, high blood pressure, anxiety, the muscle tension and pain, aches, um, all of the classic things we talk about with most uh, anxiety ridden or panic attack situation. Um, and then external triggers are obviously outside of the body. Um, these are your reminders from like the television show you were talking about, or seeing a car accident as it says here. Some more examples, certain uh, situations you may find yourself in. And then, of course, all of the senses, the five senses, smells, sounds, tastes, sights, touch, everything on the outside that helps remind. And then the big one also is special events, um, maybe the anniversary of a death or the anniversary of the traumatic event that happened to you itself. Um, these all play a role in uh, how you how your body gets triggered, and what we do from there is what we're kind of hoping to talk about tonight. So we're just starting out with a little bit of background, and please, if you feel like you would like to, go back to episode 4 on the YouTube or Spotify. Hit up the bio link. Patty has it there for us. Episode 4, I did the solo episode before Gemma had joined us um, on triggers. So there's another hour of content there for you. And let's not forget that, well, this slide in itself is based on PTSD, which is a major factor with people that get these emotional triggers. A lot of them are PTSD candidates or diagnosed with PTSD. Um, I have actually been diagnosed. I met the markers for PTSD. I never thought I would, but certainly hit the flags. And so keeping my triggers or what triggers me in the forefront of my mind is ever important, especially trying to stay on a sober road. Uh, what do you think about that, Gemma?
Yeah, I can, like, when you said about work, I just want to go back to that. It must be really hard sometimes to, because I know it was different being in a school, but some of the things that the kids told me, I found that hard to just be having to switch off from it. So it's not easy to just be able to switch off from something like that, especially if it was something bad.
Mm-hmm.
But you can find that anything can trigger you. It doesn't have to be anything much. It can be just the smallest of things that can set off a chain of events that will cause the trigger. And sometimes you can feel it building up. Sometimes it just hits you completely out of the blue.
Yep.
I have a PTSD diagnosis, rape trauma. It's even though like it can be years and years later, it can still come back when you least expect it. Um, and like it doesn't always have to be a really big thing. Sometimes it can, like when I was talking to someone a couple of weeks ago about something, it did trigger thoughts in my mind of something that I'd been through. Even though it didn't affect me very much, it did cause me to think about it, whereas I probably wouldn't have normally.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, it can completely come out of the blue, and
Absolutely.
a good way to detract from those triggers if you feel it coming on is try a bit of mindfulness, journaling. We say it all the time.
Absolutely.
I found that really helped with my recovery, journaling, distractions like music, things like that. That always helps. I'm going to pop it in the comments. Episode 4, I have here.
Yeah. Hattie, you put it in there.
Oh, she already done it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Hattie. Um,
On fire.
for
Very
those
good.
of you just joining, welcome in to another episode of the Mental Health Hour. We're talking triggers tonight. We're revisiting an episode from long ago because it's important. This is one of the basic things to understand about your own mental health, and um, an easy thing to try and get a hold of and get ahead of, if you will. It'll really help. We'll go over some techniques here, but moving forward on what triggers are and what can trigger, as we've said, I won't spend a lot of time here. We've already touched on it: sounds, people, thoughts, smells, places, media, feelings, situations. Um, these are all external triggers, or potential triggers, uh, except for feelings. Feelings would be an internal. Um, but again, the five senses uh, play a huge role in what triggers are all about. Jeremy Stoltz, good to see you. Jason Park, I haven't seen you in ages. Good to see you too. Thank you for the bits as everybody keeps streaming in. That is awesome. Good to see you, Jeremy and Jason. Um, but yeah, not going to spend a whole lot of time here because we've already kind of touched on this. Places, people, sensory, and internal feelings uh, all play a part in, the potential for a traumatic trigger, if you will, and it's completely unique to the person. If you had a traumatic experience that involved a very foul odor, or something that you won't ever forget the smell of, that's not going to be everybody's case. Uh, but certainly for you, that smell will never leave you, and smells you will fall right under there, and that's something that you can harness and know, and uh, be have a plan of attack for when something like that does come up.
Just
Um,
an example of that with the smell. Like the guy that raped me, he had a specific aftershave on, and I will never forget that. It's true.
mhm.
But a good way of reversing that back when you're being triggered with that is the way we discussed about it before: things you can smell, things you can touch, things you can taste. Try and reverse the sound, the things that are going through in your head. So if you're triggered by a smell, try and focus on another smell that you can smell around you. Then go on to something you can touch, something you can taste, and try and reverse those senses into something that's in the here and now rather than focusing on what is in the past.
Certainly. And Jason asks, why does panic attacks occur while you're sleeping? That's an excellent question. I don't personally have panic attacks,
I do.
but
Um,
if you want to field that there, Gemma.
I think some of it's down to the fact that that's when, for most people, you're winding down, your body's winding down, and all the thoughts generally come to you on a night. It's just sod's law, it's the way it is. When you're on your own, usually it's time to shut down and wind, and that's when, because you're not busy, you're not actively doing things throughout the day, and that's when your body can start to try and unwind, but everything's like all the thoughts are coming at you. And naturally, if there's something that's bad that's been brewing, not even if you're not actively really thinking about it, it can be still there brewing up under the scenes. And that is unfortunately when it will come. I mean, it can be at any time, but it can happen through the night because that's when you're not really doing anything. Um, a good way I've found to try and stop those happening Like I use the Calm app and things like that just to try and get me to focus on something else, like the sleep stories or music or ASMR, things like that. Get your brain to focus on something that you can hear there and then rather
Mhm.
than focusing on the thoughts in your head. A great way to do it is to sit and journal before you go to bed. Do it out of your bedroom. Get all the thoughts down onto your journal and then close that book. Leave it away from the bedroom. Go upstairs. Use the bedroom only for sleeping. If and so many of us will sit in bed watching stuff on our phones. I'm guilty of it myself.
Mhm.
But try
Definitely.
to use it to have a bit of an unwind before you get into bed and then go into your bed and put something on, some music, some calming music, a sleep story, anything like that that can help detract you from what's going on in here and focus on something that's happening there and then, like we do with the something you can hear, something you can smell, something you can touch. You're
Mindfulness.
not going to be wanting to do that in bed, but you can do the hearing of something like a story or some music, just something to relax your brain.
Absolutely.
Essential oils as well for something you can smell. Get some like a reed diffuser or something, like the electric ones that you put water in. You can get some of those that'll switch off automatically.
Aromatherapy is great.
Yeah.
I've, I've talked about that. Uh, I was very surprised how much I actually took to aromatherapy. It doesn't sound like quite my cup of tea, but it was very
It is.
relaxing. And
Mm-hmm.
if you are dealing with something like a foul odor trigger or something like that with the sense of smell, why not fight fire with fire and
Yeah.
combat with a nice smell?
You put it on your pulse points as well. That really helps.
Essential oils, yes, indeed.
Yeah. So like
Um,
here, here, put on your pulse points.
mhm. Just real quick, again, how does somebody get triggered? This one was just about the five senses. Um, won't go all the way through this. And guys, uh, a lot of these slides, or all of these slides, I should say, will be posted on our Discord. Hattie has been placing the Discord in the chat there. Right there it is. Please feel free to join us if you're new. We have a great community over there on Discord, uh, a safe space, if you will. Um, Lots of great people talking about mental health, continuing the conversation from the shows that we do. And you can find all of these slides, all of this information. If you're listening on the podcast only, obviously you can't see the slides, um, but you can hear us going over. If you'd like to see them, please feel free to join the Discord there in the chat provided by Hattie. But again, how do people get triggered? Sound, smell, taste, sight, touch. These are all the five senses. The fireworks obviously reminded him of war, or the smell reminds her of sexual assault. As Gemma was saying, that coincides. Um, seeing the guy cheating reminds her of the affair and triggers her PTSD. Um, and the taste of something obviously can evoke those memories. If you've ever had a taste aversion to something brought on by a flu bug or something, like you've had chicken nuggets and honey mustard sauce, and then had either food poisoning or the stomach bug that night, and obviously expelled that by vomiting, you're not too keen on chicken nuggets and honey mustard anymore. That's called a taste aversion, and it's also part of what we're talking about here with the senses. Um, Getting into some more of what we're looking to do with triggers now. We know what they are. How do we harness it? How do we move forward? How do we plan for the future? Well, the first things first, you have to identify your triggers and you have to identify the cause of them. What is making you upset? These are a few ideas as Gemma continuously plays music during the
It was
broadcast.
an ad that just popped up.
Uh, I
Sorry.
I feel betrayed. I feel manipulated. I feel disrespected. I feel judged, blamed, left out, unheard, unwelcome, unimportant, not good enough, uncared for, etc. There's a lot more. These are just some basic ones, but it gets the point across as to what about this trigger is triggering you. We have to understand our our bodies, just like with any other health item, why this is happening before we can fix or uh, manage. I guess is a better term. We're not gonna fix the fact that we'll never forget that smell, but we can live with it. We can manage it, and we can get ahead of it. Um, so identify your triggers first and foremost, and then try and come down to why it's a trigger. Write it down, journal it, as Gemma was getting into there. Um, Journaling is a fantastic tool. Obviously, we talk about it every fucking episode, um, but journaling is a fantastic tool for this, especially. Log down your trigger, or whenever you feel triggered, log that into a journal and be able to put this information with it. Why why were you feeling triggered? Um, is there anything that could be uh, maybe done in the event that this happens again? What could make you, feel better or, get out in front of it? Um, so I wanted to include this slide because of the main or of the important fact with anything health related. Um, you have to understand what you're dealing with before you can deal with it. I couldn't comprehend sobriety until I understood what was going on inside my body, until I understood the disease, until I understood what alcoholism was and why it was affecting me. I needed to learn all of that before I could do anything forward in getting treatment or, um, you know, walking the road of recovery. Gemma, anything to add there?
Um, no, like, oh, hang on, I've got issues. Sorry, I keep getting pop-ups on my computer. Um, not like overly, just the like again, just to reiterate the ways that I've managed to deal with the things, like obviously counselling, a bit of group therapy and things to help. Um, but depending on what your triggers are, like with me with the TV and stuff, if there's something in particular I want to watch, I try and look into what it's about first, because usually they have to display some kind of warning. They don't always, but sometimes they do. Um, but um, definitely try and find a distraction if you find yourself going down that slippery route of being.
A distraction like a trumpet or a
Yeah,
distraction?
I know. Oh, that was a distraction. Yeah, had to be the trumpet advert of all things. It's because I'm running the Twitch chat at the same time as the StreamYard, and it just randomly popped up with a blooming advert. Oh god, the noisiest one of all. It's usually my channel with the trumpets.
Trumpets.
Yeah,
How about that?
but that's a sound. That could have been a trigger to someone.
At least it's not a screaming baby tonight, right?
Get the door. Don't say that yet. You've got another 20 minutes to go.
Well, um, while Gemma's bringing up a good point, um, I do want to caution um, distraction can be harmful as well.
Yeah.
Um, if you're distracting instead of processing, so
Mm.
if you're distracting in the sense that I think you're talking about, taking your mind off of the racing thoughts
Yeah.
in a healthy manner to try and get some sleep or um, try and relax. Uh, that's a healthy way of going about it. Certainly, journaling, um, read diffusers, everything we've gone over. These are healthy distractions.
Yeah.
It's when you distracting becomes avoiding,
Mm.
and avoiding becomes detaching, and detaching becomes isolating, and next thing you know, you're in a hole.
Yeah. Been
Uh,
there, done that.
So be careful with distraction. Make sure you're healthy distractions, not distracting to avoid. That's the biggest thing. Um, but continuing on with what Gemma's been um, getting into, how do we cope with these things? How do we cope with triggers? Relaxation techniques. Perfect example of all the stuff we've, the reed diffuser, um, and mindfulness exercises, like the touching, feeling, um, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise. 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can smell. Just mindfulness exercises. Um, Number 2 there, become aware of your triggers. We just talked about that as paramount in order to, manage these triggers, or manage your life with these triggers. You have to become aware of what's going on. Veda actually raids us.
Wow.
Well, who the hell are we going to raid tonight? Hello, Raiders. Welcome in. It is good to see you guys. Good to see you. Welcome to the Mental Health Hour. Um, this is the little show we do every Wednesday at 6 p.m. for an hour. It's good to see you guys. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for the raid, Veda. I hope you're doing well. Sorry that when I raid you, I never show up, but
I do.
Penelope's usually screaming her head off, my daughter. So,
Yeah.
but thank you for the raid, and it's good to see you guys. Welcome to the Mental Health Hour. So we're about 40 minutes in now, guys, and we're going over how to cope with triggers. As we were just saying, um, you want to be aware of them. You want to be 100% knowing what's going on inside your head, what's going on inside your body. You can then anticipate and plan for a coping strategy. Once you start to understand and know what you're dealing with, it becomes way easier to manage or handle. And then call somebody, talk on the phone. These are healthy distractions, if you will. Keep a journal, of course. We talk about that all the time. Journaling, all of this stuff is just so important. It's the playbook for your life. If you're into sports, then you know what I'm talking about. You got your life in a playbook right there. And then exercise regularly. That is on the list of everything, not just mental health related, but health related in general. If you have a stub toe, you need to exercise more. Um, you're just going to feel better, damn it. Exercise. But anything else there to add, Gemma?
No, I don't.
We got some more on the next one.
Yeah, we've covered most of those.
Yeah, and some more ideas. Just move your body. That's going with the exercising. The grounding techniques. We've done an episode on grounding. Ever important. And these are mindfulness exercises, as we've talked about. Self-care. We've done an episode or two on self-care. Very important as well. Allow yourself to process emotions with patience. You need to obviously get to the root of it, and you need to process it. And it may take some professional help there. I needed some pretty intensive trauma therapy to get to the bottom of what the hell was going on inside my head when I was in the shit. And I was not able to process that on my own. And thank God for those folks that do that trauma therapy. They specialize in PTSD kind of situations. It's unbelievable. They're mind wizards. They were able to pull things out that were buried so deep, I don't even know what happened. I walked out of there feeling 150 pounds lighter, and like I got smacked in the face at the same time. But it was a great feeling, and that was the processing that I needed. That I processed my trauma from earlier in my life, from the fire department, from my personal life, my past divorce, all of that stuff. I was able to process and get a grip on what the hell was going on. Um, Try tapping. Tapping calms anxiety. This is another mindfulness thing. Especially if you're laying in bed, you can tap. Uh,
Mm.
Builds acceptance and draws your awareness to your senses and kind of away from the triggering emotions. And then get support. That's the biggest one, I guess. I would say I couldn't do it on my own, as I just told you. I needed help to process these deep rooted uh, traumas. So don't be afraid to reach out for help. Uh, it is not something, especially if you're dealing with something that is from childhood. I mean, this is now buried in you for 30 years or so, depending. Jim in Chicagoland, good to see you as always. And there's a ray of sunshine. Everybody's coming in. Good to see you guys. Thanks for joining. But yes, Gemma, anything to add on support?
Definitely recommended getting the support rather than, like we were saying, causing distractions and things. It's good for certain times, but you can't keep pushing it to the back of your mind to the point where it becomes, because I've been there, done that myself, and there will come a time where you can physically bottle it up no more. I describe the mind, or my mind especially, as like if you've got a filing cabinet and you're filing stuff away in your head. So you've got your good memories, things that you want to keep, all the things that get neatly packed in. And then this thing comes out of nowhere that you don't really want to deal with. So you're just ramming it in and trying to push it to the back out of the way. Sooner or later, this cabinet's going to get that full, it all just spills out, which is like your head. And
Mhm.
there's no given time where this can happen. It usually happens in the most inappropriate public place, always. But I think usually that happens because when you're in public, you're already stressed and your senses are heightened anyway. So it's pretty much inevitable that it's going to happen like that.
Mhm.
And it can be any little thing. Like I said the other week when I dropped the rubbish outside, and
Rubbish.
that caused a whole meltdown. Garbage, then trash, whatever you want to call it. Me and my Britishness,
Mhm.
and it went all over the place. And that was enough to set me off. And it wasn't the fact that I spilled the trash that did it. It was the fact that everything had been building up, and that was just the final nail in the coffin, so to speak, and it just escalated. So definitely get some help to the point where even if it does come up again, it is more manageable because they will give you techniques in which you can manage it more than just trying to distract from it. It's all well and good doing that, but it only works when you really are in a position that you're comfortable to distract from it. At the
Mhm.
start, when all this happened with the rapes and stuff, there's no way I could have distracted myself from it because it was at the forefront of everything I was doing. Every time I went out of the house, I was looking over my shoulder. Every time the phone rang, I was jumping. I couldn't control my life because of it. So I had to confide in friends that I trusted and get some therapy and medication, even if you need it. Anything just to help. But there's always
Yes.
someone there that you will always have someone there that is willing to listen. They often come. I found that they're not people that I live near. They're not family. They are people that usually at the other side of the world.
Yeah.
But
Sometimes that's just what it calls for.
yeah, it's like, and it can be good because with the time difference as well. Like if it's you, sometimes when I've been having problems, you're still up when I'm trying to get my head to switch off at night. Advantages there. Um, but still, like, it doesn't matter. They don't have to be on your doorstep. They really don't. As
Right.
long as it's someone that you trust.
So, one thing to mention along with that and getting the support and getting help, and if you are thinking about it as far as trauma therapy goes, I highly recommend it. If it's something that if you've been listening to me and Gemma and think that might be something you're interested in, go for it. It is 100% worth it. Uh, I can't speak to it enough how incredible it is. But the thing is that once you get that these emotions or these trauma experiences processed to the point where you feel like the weight has been lifted, or your brain is able to start filing it away, so it's not always in the now. Uh, the next step, and for the rest of your life, or um, you know, however long you are on this road of recovery, you need to keep working a strong, healthy program as far as understanding now the trigger, or understanding the traumatic experience, the traumatic event in your life. Taylor, next juice in the house. Good to see you. And Lucia, hello. Good to see you guys. Mark Gage. Um, but yes, uh, working forward after you've processed this, excuse me, after you've processed this trauma, you're not out of the woods. Now you're going to know exactly what you're dealing with, and now you get to employ that for the future. So that's what these last two. I thought these were um, good here because it's true. Encountering trauma triggers before treatment. This person is avoiding, feeling self contempt, no protection, uh, scared, just all around nervous, anxious. Uh, and then after treatment, you can feel more engaged. You have more self compassion. You realize that you can handle and manage these uh, traumatic experiences in a way. When the triggers come up, you can stand tall and kind of have a plan in place for it, and you have it journaled down. You know what to do. You know what you to expect. You know what the five senses are going to smell, taste, feel, and touch, and all that. You know, you have a game plan, and you
Mm.
go in with a little bit of confidence and self compassion. So that's very important to kind of end our conversation on what to do about it after we learned a little bit about what they are. Um, and for those of you that joined in, the very first thing we said, what is a trigger? This was the best thing I found. A trigger is a trauma reminder. It can be a feeling, smell, place, topic, or anything that engages our nervous system and causes a survival response: fight, flight, or freeze. Um, it is a surprise emotion, a memory that our body holds, one that may feel like it comes out of nowhere. And that's very, very true. It can definitely come out of the blue. You're not expecting it. But the point is, now moving forward and processing these traumas, traumatic experiences in our lives, we can make that plan and understand what we're feeling more. As I said before, uh, I would never be able to, I would have never been able to do anything with sobriety for the past 2 years if I didn't go and learn about what the hell was going on inside of me. Um, it's so paramount to understand what you're dealing with before you try and deal with it. If that makes sense, Gemma.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah, definitely. And I know when you mentioned about the word being used correctly, like I've heard online a few people saying the word with a different. I feel like it has a different meaning to some people, but generally that's what we mean when we say trigger. That explanation there is what we mean with that.
It has become
It is a word that's used for various different reasons, I think.
one of those buzzwords these days that kind of gets a bad rap now because everybody is throwing it around. But to, to really understand it and put your best foot forward. It's not about um, pointing the finger at others. We want to take that and kind of help them out too, work with them. That's what it's all about, right? Sharing this experience, strength, and hope, um, and showing people that it is possible to, uh, if you're addicted to a substance like I was, get clean. It is possible to, um, move past these, process these emotions that are just sometimes too much to do by ourselves. It certainly was in my case. I definitely needed professional help, which I got, and it made all the difference. Um, Drinking is a form of self-medicate. Absolutely, that is exactly what I was doing, Molly. Um, Certainly had the alcoholic bug, if you will, the gene in my system, from both sides, my mom and my dad's side. Uh, but uh, I wasn't gonna hear anything about that, and without processing these emotions, like I was just talking about, I was just I was doing exactly what I was talking about when it comes to distraction techniques. Um, you want to find healthy distractions. Um, some of these relaxation techniques, um, aromatherapy, talking to somebody, exercising, journaling. What, baby? Yeah. Um, Going for a walk, a mindful walk, you know, taking a look around and really being present in that walk. Um, because if you do distraction the wrong way, the unhealthy way, like I did, I just avoid a distraction. As I said before, distraction becomes avoidance, becomes detachment, becomes isolation, be, becomes depressed black hole, if you will.
Mm.
And that's where I found myself. Write a book, Next Juice says. Absolutely. I would love to do that. Problem is, I don't. I I'm more of a podcast kind of guy. I just gotta talk it out. Like if I tried to sit down and write a book, I might go nuts. Trying to get all the thoughts that go, like just trying to get it out in an hour's broadcast is hard enough, you know. Um, but yes, and as Molly, I think it was mentioned earlier, um, it doesn't have to be just writing to journal. She said she likes to doodle or draw in there. That's perfect. Some people like to type or voice speak it into a recorder. That's fine too. Um, Anything you can do to just jot down your ideas and thoughts on any of this mental health stuff we're talking about tonight. It's triggers, but I think we've brought up journaling in just about every episode that we've discussed any kind of mental health related item.
Yeah,
Um,
it definitely helps. And another thing that they told me that I could do to help, like write down anything that's bothering you just on a piece of paper. It can be anything. You can draw, you can write anything you want, and then kind of like nobody needs to see it, and then burn it. Obviously, do it safely.
mhm,
Not condoning starting fires because you are a firefighter. So. Anyway, burn it. It's like they describe it as like having a funeral for your bad memories, and it's to baby. It's meant to like get rid of those memories, and it's a way of doing something physical with them rather than just writing them down. You're writing them down and then getting rid of them, as it's like trying to get it away from you. If that makes sense.
mhm.
Yeah, that's another thing that helps.
Well, guys, that is pretty much all we have tonight. We might revisit again triggers. It is a very basic thing to go over in the mental health field. But understanding them and knowing what your triggers are, and then understanding why they are triggers. Uh, what is the root of them is the first step to combating. Hey, it's time.
One time.
I'd like to remind you guys, Wednesday, August 31st, the end of this month, the last day of this month, our episode will be a live Q&A number 4. You can scan the QR code there, or Hattie's dropping everything in the chat for you. Hit our bio link up, and you can submit us a question, mental health related, not who's going to win the Super Bowl. Mental health related questions, and keep them, clean. Keep them respectful. Don't call anybody's names out. All that jazz. Just if you want to join in on this broadcast, that we've done 3 of them in the past, obviously, since this is the 4th, and they're a lot of fun. We have a great time. They usually go about an hour and a half, and we get anywhere from 10 to 15 questions that we answer live on air. Now, obviously, like we say with all of our broadcasts, we are not mental health professionals. We are just 2 people that live and breathe this stuff on a daily basis. I am on a road to recovery, and everybody knows Gemma's story as well. And if you don't, go to episode 5 of the show. But we're 2 people that know what this life is. So that being said, drop this down. Please send in the questions and join us on the 31st. Like I said, Hattie's got everything there in the chat. Beardo and Weirdo are back from their summer vacation. Join them live on Tuesdays and Fridays. Great folks, long-time supporters. Jim in Chicagoland is with us tonight as well in the chat. He'll be doing Catalyst tonight. His Wednesday night Fire Pit and or Candle broadcast that he's been doing for 5 years running now. Definitely one of my favorite streams on Twitch. If not my favorite, number 1. So please join Jim at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. And what is it, 8 p.m. Pacific. And then Gemma time is like 4 in the morning or some shit like that.
Just on the basis of promoting good mental health. Y'all should be asleep if you're in the
UK. And let's not forget our friend, A Ray of Sunshine. He's with us tonight as well. Just was in his stream last night. It was good to see Ray live. I haven't been able to catch his broadcast, but he is on, and he's in the chat now. Go ahead and give him a follow as well. Positive stories, positive vibes in all of his broadcasts. Usually Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I believe, if I am not mistaken. And for all things bunny, don't forget our good friend Ella the Bunny Mom, on Twitch right here. www.mybunnyvalentine.com. Promo code is FireDude15 to save 15% off of your entire purchase. Go give her a follow. Check her website out. Help her out. She helps us out all the time. And you guys know her and love her. But if you're new to the show, check out Ella. She streams late night on Twitch with her ukulele and or guitar. Now she's learning guitar. But she also has a special mission to rescue every bunny in the world. And she sells all this awesome merchandise. These are just some of the electronics, but there's clothing, jewelry, apparel, and all kinds of other things. Go check it out and help her out. Other than that, I think we're going to get on out of here, and I'm going to get this one a bottle, and she was actually really good tonight. So you guys have a great night. Thank you again to Beta for the raid, and thank you for the raiders that stuck around. We do this every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Join us, follow. I'm Tim, she's Gemma, and this is Penelope. And we'll see you guys next week. Thanks a lot.